Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the episode 3 of the Miles and Crawford Variety Hour. Today, we're going to be talking about whatever our fancy is because, our last 2 episodes, we've focused on some serious issues, and we kind of wanted to have fun on this one and just talk about what we've seen this week, what made us laugh, just in general have a good time and maybe make you laugh too.
But seriously, why do you have to have your phone at a certain angle in order for it to charge? That may be my most annoying thing today.
I had an iPhone for 5 years straight, and I repaired the screen on it, replaced the battery twice. I had that motherfucker forever. The only reason I upgraded was because I had to. It was just dying. It was outdated. Like, they weren't even putting updates out on it. It was the iPhone 4. They weren't even putting updates out for it anymore.
Well, and I had my last one. It was probably the longest I had actually stuck with the same kind of phone. And it was, just your Motorola Droid. I'm sorry, but the Droids really lasted. Forever. And that,
I'm getting over a cold. I know I was sniffling and coughing in our last one, too.
Yeah. But, that thing really lasted. It was, it was right when I was getting ready to upgrade that my husband had to borrow it, and then he shattered the screen. And at that point, I was like, look, the battery's been dying for quite some time. It's, hitting the 3-year mark. I probably could buy this and this, but, I'm just going to upgrade.
It was Ink of Text time. I was like, I made it literally to start my phone every day, the back wasn't even on anymore. It was a sad condition. I was like, alright, I'm going to spoil myself. So I upgraded to an Android, and the nice thing about Android is you can do a whole lot more with an Android than an iPhone. I've always thought that iPhones are like the AOL of mobile devices.
They really are, and everybody, and I'm like, I think it's a prestige thing, but I don't get it.
I do too.
Apples have less battery life.
They don't have as much storage. You can't do as much. If you want an advanced phone, you go with an Android. But the iPhone is for, to me, it's a basic user phone. You can do so much with Android. It's just, it's kind of like, I don't know if you game at all, but there's, a PC versus an Xbox type situation. You can do all kinds of shit on your computer.
Yeah.
But on the Xbox, you can only play some games, watch TV. There's no you can't leave your lane. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the analogy to me is that iPhone is the AOL, and the reason why some people might not get the AOL reference. AOL was that was the internet service that we all started on for the most part. Some people had, what was the Comcast? It wasn't Comcast, but it was.
No, what was that?
There were only 2 or 3, but the big one, Prodigy Net was one, Prodigy was one, and then there was another one began with a C. But AOL was the big one, and they sent out CDs. You got a CD every month, every other week.
Oh, it was so good. It really was.
You could bill it to your phone bill, and you dialed up. But anyways, AOL was a very basic way to get on the internet. The whole internet was in AOL. They had a web browser in it. It was a very safe way to internet. And you'll find people who are in their 60s and 70s who are still my email address is so-and-so at AOL.com. Can you still log on to AOL? Does that, I need to really look into that.
You still can. And my one friend still has, my one friend has
welcome. You've got mail.
That is so, so great.
But you know what? Life is a fucking bowl of lemons. You just pick the least bitter. If you want to know
what just happened in that no second span is that we had some technical error as usual
we
via our podcast.
We wanted to save our project.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Assholes.
Yeah, they are. But it's recording us, so we can't complain too much. Okay, so AOL.
AOL was. Do you remember GeoCities?
Yeah.
Dude, I lived in the best neighborhood. My neighbors were great. And, they actually archived it so you can still visit GeoCities.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
I don't know who these people are who come up with, we should archive the old internet. You know what I mean? But, thank you so much for coming up with that idea. That's what I love about... If
somebody could find my old MySpace password and my username, I would love it.
I figured it out a couple years ago, but then I tried again, last year. And so I really wanted to delete it because it's embarrassing. I made it when I was, 21, and...
life was tough.
There's some glitter on there I'd like to remove, and possibly some likes and dislikes and comments. I mean, it is a record of me, so I try to control
I
that.
kind of want that to like go back and just be so embarrassed by who I ever was.
But that's who you were, right? So I'm okay with it. I know I can still visit my page, and it's just the way it was.
Like, I have a live journal. I have a dead journal.
I had a live journal. I've tried blogging before and never really gotten into it.
See, and I was all about blogging and journaling when I was younger, and now that I've gotten older, I'm embarrassed by what I have to say, that I'm not, like, okay with it, so that's where the podcast kind of comes in to help me out.
Hopefully your tone and your inflection, people get because I feel like I don't always finish a thought, and then I'm like, oh, shit. And so sometimes writing is better for me because I can delete. Because when we do these podcasts and I listen back, I'm like, that sounded like an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, wow, I'm a real fucking dick face, Because I never finished my thought or whatever else, or it seems insensitive or
not PC.
I am an insensitive cunt. I mean, I never am quite sure if I'm the meanest nice person you'll ever meet or the nicest mean person you'll ever meet, because I'm always like, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
And then they're like the nicest person in the whole world, and I'm like, thought she was a bitch. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
But I think it's one of those really funny things when you look back at, for me, I'm an emotional writer.
See.
So I like to get a little topsy-turvy in my alcohol consumptions and really get into some serious emotional baggage.
You know what?
It's
Some of
fun.
the best writers were fucking drunks. Ernest Hemingway. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
did he die at a rum bottle?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's an eloquence there, but when you're sober and you're reading your really like emotional stuff, you're like, this is dumb. And it goes along with this is where I bury it. And I just bury it really deep down
really,
inside.
really deep, and then I bring it up, spew it out through this microphone.
Yep, and that's kind of the...
You're welcome.
You're so welcome. But I think that when we want to go into a topic, which I'm sure everybody may be like, hey, like episode 2 was all about like the opioid epidemic, but see, like episode 3, we're trying to make it a little bit more lighthearted, and we're just kind of going through our Facebook feed and what we're going through in the month of June.
It's supposed to be fucking variety hour, and we're like, serious discussion, roundtable discussion today.
Yeah, exactly.
So, this week on Facebook,
we're celebrating Pride Month. So
Pride Month is a big deal. There's a
Pride.
big Pride down in Columbus. We're in Ohio. I know sometimes we don't always talk about where we're at wherever. So Columbus, Ohio is a couple hours south of us, but they have a huge Pride. I have a lot of gay friends, more than I realized, and I keep collecting more and more. Like, they're coming out of the closet, literally. Like, it's amazing how many people are like, no, I'm gay. No, I'm gay. No, I'm gay. Like, there's a lot of gay people now, and I think that's fucking amazing. That's awesome.
That is great, and I'm very proud of all of you for coming out and being open about your sexuality, whether it's you're gay, or you're trans, or you're asexual, or binary, or all the other things that I am not eloquent in. I'm really not.
I'm not.
I'm sorry. I really wish that I was more affluent in all the different sexualities that are out there.
You know what?
Pansexual, all that, and good for you. And
I don't really care, to be honest.
I don't care
if someone's a cisgender or a cisgender or that, or identify as a woman. I'm a man who identifies as a woman who dresses as a man. I mean, you do you. If you're not hurting somebody else, I don't care. But I do not have time to keep learning all these new terms and things. So if I could just refer to you as a fellow human, that'd be really great. Really great.
Well, and I think that's what the whole term for Pride Month is about. The fact that and I might be taking this out, so don't be mad at me, everybody out there. But I really feel that Pride Month really is about just being proud of being able to be a human being. And I don't think that we should have a stipulation to what being a human being means. I think that we should be over the hump of what it means to be gay, or what it means to be a homosexual or a lesbian, or whatever it is that you are.
Right.
Look, I feel like for who I am as a human being, who I am as a person, I'm over you explaining to me who you are.
If I
have questions, I'm going to ask. But at the same point, like, are you nice? Do you, like, pay your dues? You're a nice person. You give a shit about other people. Then that's cool. I could care less about your sexuality. And it's not that I don't want you to be proud about it. I want you to be proud and loud and everything else about it. I'm just saying I don't judge you for it.
That's just like you don't judge somebody for their race.
I don't judge people for their race. I don't judge you for your politics as best as I can.
typical, right?
Yep.
You know, I think a lot of us are trying to fight for what we want progressively in this country.
Yeah.
And I have no issue. We talked about this a little bit ago about the two-party system and how that just needs to go, because obviously it's a broken system, and we're coming up in a new generation where I don't think that any of us agree with one side or the other, and why should we only have one side or the other to pick from? You know?
It's so dumb.
It is.
It's really,
stupid. It's like
it's so
you're
outdated.
either a left, you know, but now they're trying to like splinter it into the alt left or the extreme left. And so, okay, so what we have 4 parties now then? So we have like the regular, we have socialist conservatives, and extreme conservatives, and on the left. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so what are you saying is that we have a 2-party system with 3 branches off each?
And that's exactly it. And so they're trying
Where's
to...
the fucking Green Party at then?
The Green Party's hiding in the shadows.
The Green Party is the tree, and
Yeah.
those are the fucking branches coming off of it. Like,
Yeah.
The Green Party's everybody, and then they got these people who are like, no, I like this, and I want everybody else to live this way.
Well, exactly. And, you know, in a true sense of reality, we do want everybody to live their own life, take care of their own ways, pay their own taxes. If you're disabled and you can't, then just do your best at being a good human being,
Right.
and contributing to a society.
Contribute in a different way.
Yeah.
You can't contribute to the workforce, contribute to your community.
Exactly.
You know,
and I think it's so hard to get other people to understand that. Like,
it is.
The new talk about how welfare to work, and I've seen it. Oh, you're so mad because the welfare recipients aren't going to be lazy anymore. Shut the fuck up. Period. Like,
right.
most of them are, I'm not saying, again, you're talking about the small percentage of lazy ass bums that are taking out this
0.3%.
Yeah,
you know?
that are taking care of the system. However, the rest of them are actually trying, or they're disabled, or they're old. And if you're going to sit there and look at some 90-year-old lady in a hospice who has dementia and tell her that she needs to contribute to her society while you are 30-something and you have a job and a degree and you're bitching about what this 90-year-old person is or isn't doing, then you've got problems, because you should be focusing on your life and taking care of yourself. And at the same point, like, quit.
The community around you that affects your environment.
Yep.
You know what? A great
Some
example.
Joe Schmo 90 miles away from me did this.
But that doesn't affect me because that was 90 miles away. Here is a great analogy I try to get people to understand about how things affect you in one way or another. When Japan had their really bad tsunami and their nuclear plant that was on the coast, Fukushima, I think it was, Dako, when that melted down, a couple weeks later they were finding the radioactive isotope, which I think is isotope 131. I could be wrong. They were finding that in rainwater in Cleveland. So when we talk about climate control and we talk about how things affect us, especially environmentally wise, this isn't just America, people. We share the clouds, and they bring pollution and other things from other countries that we shouldn't care about. And what China is doing and what India is doing with their pollution and whatnot, that is going to come our direction in the way of polluted water, polluted air. Their smog will start coming over. That affects us all. And so that's a weather sense, but that's what I try when I'm trying to explain how people should all be involved in their communities. Is that's how it is. It's just because something happens over here, you think it doesn't affect you. Well, it does.
And I think it's one of those things that, not only that, but I really appreciate everybody who probably did put in their donation and their time at the very first go at it. I want to let you know that there are still people that are living over there.
Yeah.
There are that is still leaking. Radiation is still going into our ocean waters.
Right.
These things are still happening. You can look up
maps and see how close it is to the California coast.
Yep, exactly. And how much is already affected. Yep, and how much it is going to affect us, which affects our produce, our sustainability, and our livelihood. And, and how that comes out. And, we've also seen
oil leaks.
And
basically, they were talking about the Great Barrier Reef,
It's dead.
And you know what upset me is when we had that really bad one, what was it, BP, that had the...
Oh, yeah.
They had a really bad one that they couldn't control for nothing. I mean, it just leaked and leaked. And I had a family member who somebody who's married to a family member of mine. So let's just draw that line right there.
Right there.
Who basically defended BP because her husband, my family member, worked for an oil refining company here in Ohio. And so she was like, you're killing our livelihood by these protests and you saying that we don't need oil and blah, blah, blah. And it just boggled my mind how she couldn't see. Like, she was so concerned about her husband losing his job and their livelihood instead of saying, okay, this probably isn't going to be sustainable for our livelihood. Maybe we should start thinking about not working for an oil refining company here in Ohio that is, if it's something like that's happening,
her way of life, or
that happened doesn't affect her locally. You know what I mean? All she was worried about was money in her pocket. And it's like, do you not realize that the children that you're raising right now might not ever get to go see the Great Barrier Reef because of what has happened to it? I mean, they're saying that it's...
But I'm going to be dead before I see that happen, so it doesn't affect me.
That's what's going on in Washington right now with all them 70-year-olds. I mean,
my
it's all
God,
people
they are
who are
so ridiculous.
They're like, let's loot this bitch before it goes on. That's a fire sale, Let's loot it for all we can before we're going to be dead before we see any of these rollbacks. But with all those rollbacks, that's more money in their pocket because they can do everything cheaper.
Yep.
Put more money in their pocket. Like, you can't take it with you when you die.
But they can give it to their family members and they can promise, their great-grandchildren all this fundage and all this money so their heritage lives on and that, you're only going to be able to get $1.2 million if you are a hard-right conservative who believes in the Nazi-American way of lifestyle. And if I find out that somehow from the dead in 50 years from now that my money, who has been passed on from generation to generation, actually went to the LGBTQ...
or the NAACP.
Then you are going to be ridden of all of your money because my death is going to linger forever.
And you know what? When we were talking about community in our last podcast, is if you look historically, we all started off in different tribes and, different villages and whatever. But we've always, people have a innate ability or need to congregate together, And if you think about it, we really don't survive too well on our own. Like, a person can't just go out, and that's why they call them a survivalist or whatever. Like, a person can't just go out in the woods and be like, dee. A wildcat can get your ass, a bear can get you. Like, this earth is not safe for people. You can fall off a cliff. I mean, this isn't a safe environment. The only reason that we've made it this far is because we all band together and built cities. But over time, people used to all live out in the country, and then they started building towns, and people started wanting to move closer to town so they didn't have to wagon their ass two days to town to buy supplies for the winter. It's just to get that horse on up. I mean
I love that aspect where people don't see where we originally came from,
and why we did it. It's so stupid.
It's so dumb, and I think, if we really read our history books and we go back to the days of, you can just watch that, what is that, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise movie where they're out back in the Wild West days and they have to, mark their territory.
Oh, wasn't that a great movie? Far and Away?
Far and Away.
I love that movie.
It was so long.
I know, but she was like,
oh, dude, this is my land.
Get it, Nicole. Get it, girl.
Get it. It was all you. It was women's rights even back then, bitches.
They were Irish and came over. I haven't seen that movie in forever. I'm going to have to watch it again now.
Yeah.
I think it's Far and Away. That could be,
I'm
pretty sure.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
That might be a porn version of that. I might be thinking of, That happens. It
does. But I think it's one of those great things where even back then, we fought each other. We fought then against one another for a stake of the land, and we haven't changed. And the idea where some of us are very...
That's my land. Back it up.
Exactly. And that, you're talking about, 4 people who own, the United States of America, basically.
Right. Just the 4 people that are listening to.
Thank you, bitches. If you want to give me some money. I just want to pay off my student loans, right?
I would love to pay mine off, right?
But...
Greatest lie generation was ever told. Go to school.
Go to school.
For what?
Yeah. Well, because your education's going to get you a job that pays you well.
Yep. That's why I'm a bartender.
Yeah.
I have a bachelor's degree.
And that's why you're doing something that you really don't want to be doing 9 to 5 ever.
I fucking hate people.
Dude, I do. I do.
I want to stab most of you, but I smile instead. Okay, I think, you know what? We did lose that podcast where we were going on about food service. Shout out to all of you who have served in the food service industry, because that shit is not for the lighthearted. I mean, I'm serious. If you're easy to cry, you better just not even apply to be a server.
Or a hostess, or a bus. Anything.
Yeah, because people will rip your fucking face off nightly, and then not tip you.
and then dickhead.
And then go home like, I told that bitch. Yes, you did. Now I have to tell my electric company that because your steak was not medium well as you wanted, and it's not bloody like you thought it would be, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't be tipped. That's all me that you ordered it medium well, but you meant medium rare. You fucking cunt.
Just so you know,
I love you. I love you all.
Not tipping your server only goes into the welfare bank that you're so highly against. I'm going to put that out there. If you are not paying people for their services provided, you are only allowing them to not pay bills that they're adding interest on that goes into our altogether national debt.
Yeah.
So every time that you don't tip a server, you're creating the debt that you are bitching about. So shut the fuck up.
You know what pisses me off about
tip
food
20%.
service is tipping used to be okay, and I have another friend who, like, he gets so mad when I bring it up, but I'm like, we're the only country that tips. And to be a food service person right now, I think across the board, a $16 to $18 an hour wage and to replace tipping would be adequate.
Yep.
I feel like that is the proper, that's worth it.
Yep.
And just enough. I'm not talking about making, but you deal with awful people constantly,
awful.
And everybody has a different idea of what good service is, like how you touch their glass, how often you come to their table, how you anticipate their needs. Everybody will tell you, like, a server shouldn't have done this, but the next fucking table thinks you should have done that. Like, you can't serve the same table. Every table differently has a different, like, she should have filled my drink up when it got halfway down.
But then if I did that once, and I had somebody who was really angry with me.
Yeah.
Because I filled up their glass. I brought them actually a full refill.
And they were pissed off about it. I didn't ask you for that.
Exactly. Well, and now you're going to make me drink this. You're not paying for the, man, you paid for the cola's for free. Well, now you're wasting your money. Da-da-da. And now, does your company understand that you are not, I'm sorry, I was trained.
To anticipate your needs.
Yes.
And it looks like you're going to need another drink because you've been sucking them. So you had 3 Pepsis before your food came, bitch.
Yeah. So I assumed that once your food came and you were halfway done that you wanted one more to finish off your,
right.
It was, the struggle is so real when it comes down to service industry.
People are just so nasty.
They are. They're going to touch dicks.
But, I think also it's unfair that all these, this is why a lot of shit fucking people open restaurants, because they can get away with paying people $3 an hour in minimum wage, and it's almost pure fucking profit because the customer pays their employee wages. And that's not fair because, you have to claim 15% of your sales across the board no matter fucking what, legally. Yep. If you didn't even make, so let's say I did $1,000 in sales, I have to claim that I made $150 that night, whether or not I made $150.
But I made 80.
Exactly. I made $220, but I'm only claiming $150. I only got to claim $150 of this. Government don't. No, I'm just joking. But seriously, it's not fair because most people, cheap people, either you don't get tipped or they tip you 10%, or you might get that 1 or 2 table that gives you 20% and it evens out at the end of the night. But how is that fair when I could have fucking made just a little bit more money? You know what I mean? Like it's it evens out every night. It evens out
just enough,
right? And you barely I'm not kidding when I say $1,000 in sales and $150. And then you have to tip out of that, So
that actually you tip out, okay, so $1,000, you, on average, in most restaurants, you tip out 3% of your overall sales to your bussers, bartenders, and hostess stand. So already you're out $30.
Right.
So out of your $150, you actually, even if everybody tipped properly,
right,
should be walking home with $120.
Right. And that's on a Saturday night. We're not talking about a Tuesday night.
Oh, where you're $35 and you're walking out with closing shift.
Yeah, $35. Woo, yeah. I just paid for dinner and gas and my daily essentials for the day. And then you get your paycheck at the end of the week and it's not even $100. Like, people don't realize that you literally live off those tips. And it's a fucking travesty that all these restaurant owners, they don't offer insurance, benefits, anything. They're making hand over fucking fist because they buy their food at cost. They pay their grill cooks and their dishwashers. A lot of times they get dishwashers from like BVS, you know. So they pay them and they get a credit for them. So it's basically almost free labor. You got, a special needs person back there yelling about dishes. And that's about the only people who do dishes too. You got to be special.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. If you've been in enough restaurants, you know that the dude doing the dishes is usually special. if you can get somebody to stay. I mean, the long term.
The long term, I mean, and props to dishwashers.
They're amazing.
They are. You guys get dishes chucked in your face, splashed water, people screaming at you left and right.
Can I get silverware? I need silverware so I can go home.
Silverware isn't clean, and I need everything else. I need plates. I need this.
You know, that's the worst thing is getting all your side work done, and you're waiting on silverware because you got to roll your 150 before you can go home.
And a lot of them, and kudos to a lot of the restaurants who, kudos to the servers who sued another restaurant. I think it was like Outback or something, okay? And I'm not saying, kudos to suing Outback. I'm saying kudos because there was a bunch of servers who rallied up, and they said, okay, I'm making $4 an hour plus tips. Even if we broke down our tips on average, what we get paid to do our side work. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is on the clock. For $4 an hour, I'm getting paid to roll silverware, fill my salt and pepper shakers, fill my sugars.
That now.
Yep, and that's what happened. The laws came into effect where servers, for the most part, don't have to roll silverware as often or ever again because now we have to pay an extra person at minimum wage just to roll silverware, and that is their job.
Exactly.
And that has to go with the fact that, we weren't paying. I mean, some of these servers were having an hour and a half worth of side work, and their side work.
When I worked at Denny's on third shift, my shift ended at 6, but I didn't leave till 7:30.
Yep.
So I had to wait for my tables to finish eating, and while they were doing that, I did my side work, and then I stood around. I bet you, I'm not joking, 45 minutes rolling silverware. Yeah. There was only 2 of us, and we served, 500 fucking people.
Yep, exactly.
500 sets of silverware. I mean, silverware for days.
Silverware for days, and then you had to clean the cold well, flip the salad dressing. Exactly. You had to go ahead and make sure everything was labeled correctly.
I mean, you're spending, but then they say, well, it all factors out. Didn't you make enough money in tips? No, asshole. I didn't. I need to be paid at least minimum wage. Ooh, $8.15 an hour. You know what I mean? For the hours and the time when I'm not serving tables. Yep. The time that I served tables and I made those tips, that's my wage.
And during that time that we're serving tables, during that time that we're not just getting food and drinks. We're doing our running side work. We are stocking your glassware. We are stocking
ice so that you can get another drink in time, bitch.
Exactly. Like we have other things going on.
I'm waiting in line at the bar because the bartender's so fucking chatty. She won't make my drink.
Or unfortunately, the bartender gets stuck with a chatty customer.
Oh.
And they see, and the customer sees. They see the 3 servers.
And they'll keep talking. They'll just keep talking. They know that bartender needs.
And there's tickets that are just rolling out. And those and God bless, because sometimes a lot of times there's a lot of bartenders who are not just doing bar work, but they're doing the to-go stations as well.
That's all they do is carry out.
Yep. And so now they're doing all the bar drinks. They've got a wrapped around bar. They've got 15 to-go orders, and they've got 18 servers on the floor who all need drinks.
Right.
And there's 2 of them.
Right. And they're just working as fast as they can to push out as much as they can at once. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It really is.
And I have noticed, I don't know how long you've been in the food service. I started serving back in 1997, probably. 1998 I started. And people were a lot friendlier back then. They tipped better. I made bank. I'm not joking. It was one of the best. And then the economy.
I would make so much good money. Me and Joe both were at Denny's third shift. That was good money right there.
But nowadays, I mean, it's not worth it. And I just think, look, it's not worth the pay. I mean, $150 10 years ago on a night, that was like making $300 a night. I mean, I could do $300 on a Saturday night.
Yeah, because back then, like your $350 that you walk out with, like for like an entire Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, or whatever it was.
That's a paycheck.
That was a paycheck.
And then you had the rest of the week to take care of your family and house.
Yep, exactly. And that was so great.
But then you always got stuck working a lunch shift.
Dreaded lunch shift.
If you get the good Friday and Saturday night shifts, you're working a Sunday lunch.
We need you to work. But do I have to work? Is that like one of those things that I absolutely have to do?
Can we not just be open? I mean, the whole one table of 2 ladies after church.
This is where I believe in buffet styles on Sundays only. Right. But that way to give all the servers a relief.
Listen, have you ever worked
4 of them who have to only work for refills only.
A Sunday lunch crowd is usually old ass people that are coming in, or
from church, who are already mad about their sins they had to confess to their priest about, and they're taking it out on you.
Not only that, but they're like, hey, have you ever gotten one of them folded $50 bills? You know what I do? Girl, I'm not even joking when I say this is what I do. When I served all the time, because I get one once a week, I would figure out because it's usually when they order them online or they order them, it's stamped with their church. So what I would do is I'd go back around on a Sunday morning and join their church service and sit and wait for that dish to come around. I'd pop that bitch in that dish. I'm not joking. I did that every Sunday for 2 fucking years because I'd get off work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd go have breakfast at Bob Evans. I loved the yard sale. check out my yard sales, and then right about 8, 9 o'clock, like, yep, about time for church start. Where am I going today? All right. You know what I mean? Like, I walk in like, Bill!
Hey!
Don't even know these people, you know? Sit right up front. You know, because I don't want to wait in the back for it to get passed, so I sit right up front. And I just pop that bitch back into there you go. God will pay your fucking electric like he's going to pay my bills. How do you like it, huh? Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Thought y'all got a $50 donation. Nope. You just gotta preach. I'm not joking. That shit makes me so angry. It makes me. I would chase them down and make them eat it. You just put it in your mouth and chew it. Just chew it. It just makes me so angry.
It does.
I should make my own $100 donation.
Unfortunately, you go to jail for that, but you don't go to jail for being a shitty tipper.
Right,
I mean, you know,
like,
that's just some shit right there.
God will make your decisions for you. Well, thank God. I was wondering how I was going to pay my electric.
Thank you so much for the God pamphlets. We really appreciate those, too.
Yeah, I'm really into those.
Those are always the best on the Sundays where all the servers would gather together and we would talk about, like, the best pamphlets that were left for us or the best little books. You also need to update because I've seen the same pamphlets for, like, 5 years now. Can you guys make some better comic strips? Because I need them. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, especially around Halloween.
Oh,
like
yeah.
The Devil's Holiday.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm
cool with that.
Gonna celebrate Halloween anyways, but thank you for worrying about my eternal soul. I've got it handled, though, thankfully.
Mean, here's the thing. I'm not against you guys going to church. I'm not against you every once in a random.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Because, like, there are times where I feel ultra-religious for no reason, and I'm like, I should really go. And then I'm like, like, I feel bad because I don't go, and then
You know what? That's called being spiritual. You don't have to be religious when you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
Commune with God on your own, because that's why I pray. I mean, but I don't pray to a God or a Christian God or
who's ever listening to me up there.
Whoever is up there and created my ass out of some stardust. I mean, there's got to be. My little human brain just can't fathom that there's not. Like,
I mean,
something created me. I mean, I don't care if I'm just a big bang.
You talk about God. Don't drink water, folks.
But
do not drink water.
Miles, she's got like the tiniest bladder. We're gonna get her one of them little potty seats, you know, so that she can just pee in the porta potty when she needs to. I'm just kidding. Coffee goes through me like crazy. I peed like 20 times before I came because I knew that I wouldn't have to stop to pee. But now Miles was kind enough when I showed up. She had my little chair set up for me, a bottle of water that she had frozen and removed and put into my little cup holder so that it started to melt and was ice cold. Then I have this amazing little, what's it say, cooling activation. You get it wet with cold water and you wrap it around your neck, and I wish you guys could see it because I look like an aviator, like straight up aviator. If I had some glasses, people would think I was about to go fly off on a plane. So I have it wrapped around my neck like that for, I don't know, I just look super fancy, and it's a travesty that you guys can't see it. I'm really, really sorry, because, you know, style is important when you're doing a podcast. So some of the funnier things that I've seen on Facebook this week, I know that everybody's been laughing about the Caffeine, and I know that, you know, insiders know what it means, but I sure would like to know what it means. But I really enjoyed that meme this week. Hopefully somebody comes out with a Caffeine brand of coffee, because I think that would be hilarious.
A coffee what?
A Caffeine coffee. Sorry, I can't even say it.
I feel like I could probably go to...
It'd be a bitter roast.
I should go to one of our little local place here that does their own coffee beans and be like, this is what I need you to do this, and I need this to be the label.
It's got to be the shittiest tasting coffee too. You know what I mean? Coffee. This could be so
Serve
great. It to your asshole friends.
How have we not come up with this idea yet, though? Like, how has somebody not done this?
Somebody probably already did, and there's a Kickstarter.
Yep.
What is that? A day late and $1 short.
Every time.
You know, I come up with some great ideas, and then I Google it, and I'm like, oh, 3 people have done that already.
Son of a bitch.
And that's okay.
But there's also some that have really failed. Like, the one that I got really excited about, which was the cooler that was supposed to be the all-in-one. It had, like, the speaker, the US, or the solar panel for your USB, the blah, blah.
I saw that bad boy.
Yep, and then you know what? It got kickstarted. It got started out, and the reviews were just for $200. A $200 cooler, by the way.
Right.
A $200 cooler.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Okay.
For a cooler.
And for some of us folk who just don't got that kind of money on us.
You got a layaway program.
Yeah.
You know.
But the reviews, I'm talking about like the ridiculous weight of the cooler, and you know how
really?
hard
you
it was.
Really.
It was so like this thing is like treacherous. This thing is, I mean, if your cooler weighs more than a kayak, going out. I mean, it's not, they're like, it was so difficult. It didn't, this broke, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm all about investing into startups because I believe that startups is how the entire world works. At this point, when we've got big box closing, hands down across the board, 88 more stores here, 100 stores there. Like,
I'm lazy. I do my online shopping and everything I buy online is way fucking cheaper than me wandering my ass into the mall to buy it. I'm sick of it.
Well, not only that,
we can't afford it. We don't have the buying power anymore. I'm sorry.
Don't. And not only that, but you guys aren't interesting.
No.
You're not. Why would I not want to go on Etsy?
I don't want anybody following me around asking me if I found everything okay. If I need to find something, I'll come find you.
Yeah. I'm not afraid.
You got a name tag?
What is that weird noise?
I think that...
Oh, that's probably him. Oh, he opened the window. That's what happened.
Such a good husband.
When he was just trying to air it out.
We had an appearance by Mr. Miles, but he was so quiet that you literally did not hear him in here.
Yeah.
This is probably an amazing married couple because they completely communicated without speaking to each other, and it was great.
It takes 14 years of fighting. No, I'm kidding.
Read my eyes, I'll kill you.
Yeah, what? Like, is there a...
But he did crack the window for us, and it feels pretty good.
And it's starting to help out. We don't have a fan running into a garage, and it's a balming, 95 degrees probably still outside.
I had wondered on my way here. I even asked Miles, how's that garage feeling?
It was great until the hubby had to work on his own project that, he's really proud of himself for working on, so I can't be mad at him for doing his own, if you're going to save us $50 by doing something handmade.
And he lets us use his space.
But it's our space.
Yeah.
We bought the house. But, it is,
feminism!
Yeah.
The garage can be a lady place, too.
Yeah, bitches. But we left the garage door open, right that peak sunshine time into the front part of our house. So the garage got a little toasty.
I think it feels good in here now, though.
Yeah, now that we've opened it up.
Completely comfortable.
So you're going to hear our neighbors. They're working on a porch, and I'm real proud of them for making a porch. So,
you know what?
I'm not.
We said that we were going to podcast about everyday life. This is everyday noises.
Yep, exactly. You're going to have to deal with it.
Sorry,
we
are professional studio. Just
you guys aren't giving us the Trey Crowder funding yet. So when we become the new rednecks of
we
Findlay,
will
Ohio.
build a sound booth. We talked about our old little studio. Someday we'll get there. We're the baby stages of our podcast.
Well, I'm really thinking that once it cools down, that I can probably make that happen in my attic. But right now we don't have.
Get awful hot. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. When the cool down happens, during the winter sessions.
If anybody has any ideas, please shoot them our way.
Where can we go for free?
Right? Where can we record for free and also smoke?
That's a legitimate thing.
The garage has been really great because we can smoke out here, and we're dirty smokers. That's probably why we can't get ahead in life because we spend all our money on nicotine. But
we're gonna have to pause this for a hot second.
Ooh, yay.
Ooh, yay.
I love hot seconds.
Hot seconds. That's just how it goes. And so I feel like every time I take a deep breath in, I'm starting to wheeze a little bit. It sounds ridiculous. It does, but...
We've been talking for a few hours now, though, so...
I apologize. It happens. And, we were talking about how we're going to, speaking of wheezing, we were going to save money on smoking.
There's nothing wrong with me smoking.
Look, I get it. It's one of those
Everybody
things.
has an addiction. God damn it, this is mine.
Going back into a prior podcast, it's one of those things where we come to people who, like ourselves, who have already beat, we could have fallen into a really deep, other addictions. And so I think me and Crawford are both on the same playing field here where it's, look, we got off of a lot of these pills. We got off a lot of these things that our doctors were telling us for the best of our interest. And so instead of going to that, we found nicotine in coffee. Yep. It may not be the healthiest way to go, but who knows what would have killed us faster.
Right.
At some point, I am planning on quitting. I've been planning on quitting for a lot of months, a lot of years.
Me too.
And I think
it isn't a terrible addiction.
It really is.
And it doesn't tell you, a lot of people I started as a teenager, and I truly hate it, but I keep on smoking because I'm addicted to it.
Yeah, and I've gone through my bouts of quitting smoking. I've gone my bouts of
Usually when I have to go to jail, they don't let you smoke, and it's really easy.
Yeah.
But then you come out and you find your pack of marbles you stashed in the bush before court, and you're good to go. You know, you're like, I got a cigarette. I don't care.
You know, or it's one of those, like, I quit while I was pregnant, and then I was really, really good, and then, like, one night, it was finally, like, my first night of freedom after having the babies,
It's
you know?
drinking. If you ever go out for a drink,
And then
boy,
suddenly,
you will want a
like,
cigarette.
I mean, just a one hit, and there's, you know, there really is that correlation of drinking and smoking. And
yes.
you know, I know a lot of people who are just social smokers. They literally only
smoke when they drink.
And I'm like, I hate you guys. And most times I get really good. Like, I can go through my, like, I can make a pack last me a week or 2 weeks, and there are sometimes where, like, a pack lasts me a day. It really is about, you know, how do I
budget mine, too. Like, if I know that I only have this much, you know, that I'm gonna be able to budget for cigarettes.
Yep.
I don't take away from my own bills or whatever to, you know, I'm like, well, this pack's gonna last me the next 3 days. That's fine.
Yep. And then you do that. If it can, then you go bum
5 days, 5 smokes a day. Okay, I can do that.
Yep, exactly.
It's not that hard.
It really isn't, and then so it should be that hard to
But
quit.
completely quit is something else. And I think it goes back to, you know, smoking does a few things for you, like with anxiety and weight loss. Like, a lot of times I'll smoke a cigarette when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Because it curbs your appetite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just a lot of different things that smoking, with its horrific things
Side
that
effects.
it does to your body.
Yep.
You know, there are reasons that it helps. And so.
Yep, and I know that we'll feel better, and I know that if I could run longer, I know that there's a million things that I could
as
be
we
doing
get
that's
older,
better.
you know, I think it's just that you get more like, oh man, you know, I really need to quit smoking. I've been smoking for almost 20 years now.
Yep, it's like,
I don't want to, you know, I do not want to have one of those kind of voices, and it's already starting.
Yep.
You know, get that raspiness. And
Well,
so,
and that's like the one thing about me is that I've always had a raspy voice. Like, I've always, even when I was younger, before I started smoking and all that, like, I always had a very deep female voice.
right.
And, I always took it with compliments, and now that I'm getting there, I'm like, I'm really going to be like, I'm going to be like Marge Simpson's sisters. You know, I'm going to be those ladies.
Patty
I'm like,
and Selma.
No, Patty and Selma. You know, I'm like, I don't want to be, you know, like, but I know that I'm going to be, but I will change that and, you know, I'm always getting grief from other people who are non-smokers. But at the same time, I'm like, look, you know, everybody has their vice.
But you keep chugging on your Starbucks triple espresso, bitch.
Yeah,
You
exactly,
know?
exactly. Or you keep drinking your...
Killing your heart.
I'm only having a few glasses of wine a night, you know?
Yeah, my one glass a night. You're a drunk.
Yep, you know.
You're a wino.
It's okay. And I think it's at some point you learn to accept it. But, I mean, welcome to blue collar life. You know, we all have our addictions, and, you know, with everything else.
Small time addictions. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then that's what it comes down to. And it's everything at this point, if we're not going to be environmentally sound anyways.
Everybody has to find a way to cope.
Yep.
And that goes back to me going on about social programs and whatever else.
Yep.
As everybody in America is just trying to fucking cope with each other.
Yep,
you know?
exactly. And it's all, you know, how can you be involved with everything without having your own breakdowns? How can you change the world without having your own... You know, my parents give me a lot of grief because I'm not a good recycler. I'm sorry. I really try. I really try. And then sometimes, we go into recycling. Sometimes we come out of recycling. Sometimes we're in it. Sometimes we're not. I get it. It's not good. I should be, you know, if I'm all about the earth and I'm all about scientists, and then I know that recycling is going to help.
Practice what you preach.
Exactly.
But it's hard to follow
Here's
through.
the thing. You know what?
Rough.
I found out that when you separate cardboard and, like, cans and stuff, like, especially when you're in a restaurant industry, they just throw it in the same dumpster.
Yes, they do.
They do not actually have a certain cardboard truck.
I don't know why they do that. You know, I guess it's to save space.
I think it's to make people feel better about what they're doing.
But they just dump it. One truck comes and dumps them both.
Both, exactly.
You know?
So they're not actually recycling that cardboard. And
it would be nice if they did. Because you know how many people could build homes out of that out on Skid Row in Los Angeles? You know?
I mean, it's one of those things. Like, and not only that, but if I saw... you know, better things in my own community being actually used from that, I think I'd probably be more apt to it. But our recycling center doesn't even take glass anymore, and not only that, but I don't know where does it? I want a certification. If I have to show you my high school diploma to prove that I graduated from high school, why don't you have to show me a certification of where my recyclables are actually going?
Right. Like,
how is that? Is this creating like a new? What is it creating?
Industry, or where's it going?
Yeah, I want to know. Like, because are you guys just cheating us out of like our extra like totes to put them in? Yeah. Our gas money to get there.
Where are you guys putting all this stuff?
Exactly. Where is it going? What's it building? I want to know
has
this.
All kinds of these little. I don't know if they still do. But they had like these big old blue
recycle centers. Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
They don't take glass anymore.
No.
You know what? I think Variety does down on Crystal. I think they do glass.
Yeah. I think that's the only place that does it.
Yeah, I think they do glass. You know, where I live, I don't know if you've ever seen it because of how you would come into Upper, but we have a huge glass plant. We have 2 glass plants, people that make automotive glass. But there is a massive, when I say a mass, I'm talking about a mountain of glass shards, like broken glass that they melt down and they make into glass. And as you come up and the sun hits it, it's beautiful. It looks like a huge diamond.
That's awesome.
And then they have brown glass. They have like blue tinted glass, you know, like regular glass. And then they have brown glass, and then in the back, I mean, I've never been back there, but I like to drive by it just because it's pretty on a sunny day.
Yeah.
But we have 2 glass plants up there. So I wonder if a lot of the glass, because Upper collects glass, they have a red, they actually come around and pick up your recycling. It's a weird little town. Like
But see, they have that, but it's for such an extra cost into your like.
See, and it's not for What's interesting about where I live in Upper Sandusky is if you rent or whatever, everybody has you pay your own water. And we pay water, but the trash is included. Like, there's no outside trash service in Upper Sandusky. There's not. Everybody has their own trash service. Here you have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In Upper Sandusky, it's part of the city service. And so the city also handles their
recycling. I mean, we're what, 4 times bigger than what you guys are, so why can't we not provide that?
And, you know, and then they have each street you know, like Thursday is our night that we put ours out. But you can go down to the water department and get a free recycling tote to separate out your trash. And so what happens is the guys come around at like 5 o'clock in the morning, they get everybody's trash, and then around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, you'll see the recycling truck come around. And then about 3 days later, you'll see the street sweeper come through. And then twice a year, Upper Sandusky has a free spring cleanup and a fall cleanup where you can put whatever the fuck you want out on the curb. I mean, outside of like paint, hazard, TVs, you know, the usual, rubber tires, things like that. You can put whatever you want out there and they will carry it off for free because they care that much about how clean their community is and preventing hoarding and dirty backyards and people leaving shit on their porches that they just can't haul off because they don't have a truck or whatever. But, you know, like they really care about how the community looks, and it does. And it's like a garage sale day. Like on those 2 days, like the 2 weeks, because it happens all week, what they do is you can put stuff out all week during the trash week, you know. And people drive around looking, because people don't just put trash out. They put old chairs, old stands, old TVs, old air, you know what I mean? And people go around and they pick, and so by the time what's left is just trash.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's beautiful.
I think it's a nice little town. It's very religious. Even like that's the only thing I don't like about it is there's probably like 12 churches, and this is a community of 7,000. It's strongly linked Catholic. Their after school tutoring program, in order to sign up for it, you have to sign a paper that says you have the option that says would it be okay if we prayed with your child before each session? No, I want my kid to learn math, not about Jesus, okay? And also, one of the weird things about Upper Sandusky is, do you know about religious education, the law in Ohio?
No.
It was actually a congressman from Upper Sandusky who introduced it. In Ohio, students are allowed to take, I want to say up to 2 hours a week, maybe more, out of their regular school day to go for religious education. So every Thursday, the church next door to me, kids load up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and for the rest of the day, they go and they learn about Jesus instead of being at school and learning math and reading and things. My son, and we're not a very related, I mean, we're spiritual, but we don't go to church.
Yeah.
And I have an issue with that because, first of all, he's like one of 3 kids that doesn't go to it. And the other kids are always telling him about how he's going to go to hell and how the devil whispers in his ear, because he doesn't go to the religious education. My issue is religious education can take place after school, before school, on the weekends, on your own time. But students only have an 8-hour school day, and that includes the breaks in between classes, like he's in middle school. Their 30-minute lunch break, their hour study hall. You know what I mean? Like, this is time for learning education, academics.
Yeah.
You know, can we leave the religious? And to me, and from what I found, it really hasn't taken off anywhere but Upper Sandusky. But every day I come out, it's on a Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I see that bus parked in the bus parking lot. And it just makes me mad because those kids are missing out on being educated about the world because they need extra religious education. If you want your kid to have religious education with their education, send them to a religious school. They have scholarships. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But don't, because it creates that stigma, that atmosphere that my son is treated that way because it's an ultra-religious community and he can't just be who he is. You know, he's going to hell and the devil's whispering in his ear because he doesn't go to Thursday day worship during school. To me, that's alien. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand about extremism in general, is that extremism isn't even... it's religion-based, actually, is what it is. And it doesn't matter what religion you are. Extremism isn't just a Christian or a Catholic or a Muslim. Like, it is...
It's an extreme of any kind.
It's an extreme of any kind. And when you're taking your religion and you're forcing other people to make sure that they believe in God. But I think from my understanding of the Bible that I've read quite a few times over and different churches that I have gone to, my take on it is that God wants you to believe in him because you believe in him.
Right.
I get that you just walked around.
But isn't that kind of funny, though, that they say do not worship false idols or prophets, but they want you to worship a God
without you actually believing him because you're in the wrong for not.
A book that was written by men told you to.
Yeah.
So...
And not only that, but like, if we just discovered that we're 100,000 years older than what we originally were, where do these stories really begin?
I love science, don't get me wrong, but I really hate when scientists or the science community says this is a fact. Very rarely is it a fact.
Yeah,
because
agreed.
And don't get me wrong, I love hypothesis because the reason but what they do is they take what knowledge they have at the moment and they make their best guess on it, and it's based on science, on observing, it's the scientific method. But the problem is our tiny little human brains, we're like, well, we think this is how physics works because this is what we've observed so far. But, just recently in the last few years, they've actually found a couple of different ancestors, people, like they were just talking about how they thought Africa was the cradle of humanity, and now they just found somebody who's even older than the oldest human that we found somewhere else.
Another country that we don't know how to pronounce anyways.
Well, and I can't remember, honestly. But, they're always talking about the missing link and we come from monkeys. I don't believe that. I believe we were related to them in some way. But it just seems awful strange to me that out of all of the species on this earth, for some reason, we're talking with each other, building things. You know what I mean? And everything else on this earth is just roaming. Like, and I'm going to adjust my tinfoil hat here a little bit. Sometimes I wonder if we're not aliens, you know, that we're planted here as a social experiment, you know. And if you look at, I love history and I love reading. That's where I think we learn a lot about our times now, is by learning our history. And if you look back at like some of the older tribes, like the Hopi Indians, have you ever read about the Hopi Indians?
No.
They have some of the most interesting prophecies around. I don't look at the Bible. I look at the Bible as nice moral stories, but also a historical account. Because if you look through all of these religions, you'll see that the Great Flood did happen. You know, might not be Noah with an ark, but that Great Flood did happen because it's mentioned across so many religions in their books. They mention it. You learn about history. If you learn about history, it's a great historical context as to.
You learn about humanity through learning through history.
Right. You know?
That is one of those things that I don't think enough people take seriously. We're more willing to believe in some great thing in the sky and from whatever bajillion years ago.
And that's
than we are about looking to our immediate history and seeing what we could really learn from that in order to change it. And I believe in the prophecies to some degree, and I believe that there are things out there that we have always been able to interrupt.
The whole Mayan calendar thing was funny.
Yeah.
But with things like that are very interesting if you read how people believe or how they came about. But I think that they're like word of mouth stories that are handed down centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. You know, like this is our the religion, text, and things like that. That's our actual history that hasn't been burned or altered or whatever else.
So where do we go when we die?
You know, I really like the whole idea of when people say they see the white light, like the idea that's you being reborn. But I mean, some people are born into darkness, so that doesn't really make sense. But you know, too many, and before the internet, and there was a great, huge sharing of information back in the 18 and 1700s. There were isolated accounts of people saying that they saw a bright light. But those people always come back. So how do we know that they're actually having a near-death experience and not just their brain having, you know what I mean?
All the electrons and all that stuff shutting down all at the one time where you get to kind of see that.
Now, I did read a really interesting book by, I want to say his name is Eben Alexander, and he's a neuroscientist. And he had a really bad accident, or he got meningitis, I think it was. And he wrote a book, and it was called Proof of Heaven. And he's a brain surgeon. Not religious at all or whatever, but he was in a coma for I don't know how long, but he wrote this book, and each chapter, like the first chapter is about what was going on with him medically. The second chapter was talking about what he was experiencing in his coma. Third chapter, medical. Fourth. So I only read chapters 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, because I didn't really, you know what I mean? But and I can't even explain, but I read that book, and I thought it was probably one of the neatest things I had ever read from somebody who wasn't religious, but was like, I had an experience, and he was like, and it will take, he was like, and what was interesting was he was trying to explain it. He was like, literally, he's like, I understood it while it was happening. He was like, but to try and to explain it to other humans, he was like, but once I came back, it was like my brain stopped. Like I couldn't, like, it's almost like we have a barrier, like we're not allowed to see, you know. He said, but while I was in a coma, he experienced all these just real cool things, and it just gave me hope, you know what I mean? Like, my biggest fear about dying is that this is it. But I won't know anyways. But still, you know, I like to think that we get to find out that this is just a level of hell. Or this is I think you have to go through levels, you know, just like the Buddhists believe in nirvana.
And I'm all about, you know, embracing your own past and your own history and whatever else. And I'm all about you embracing what brought you into the great person that you are today. And at the same time, I also, you know, I want to respect you in your religion and your own boundaries. I get that if you are, you know, of a certain descent, you can't eat for this amount of time during this period during the year, and I'm not going to trash you for it, and that doesn't make me judge you. And I do my best. I'm not saying that I'm not judgmental, because I am, but I do my best.
I try to check myself when I have a judgy thought. Like, like you're doing any better, bitch. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, look at you. You can't even match your socks together.
But I think that it comes into this really intense aspect of, like, you know, if we all go to heaven and God is real, whatever God that may be, whatever your God looks like is your God, my God looks like my way, whatever. How if, you know, if it all is, if we're all going to the same place, are we really going to be fighting about race when we get to heaven? Because if you think that God wants you to fight over, it's
this is a vessel.
And your vessel proves to God what you are.
Well,
like,
to me, like your body is just a vessel. Like, after you're dead, like, I don't know how many...
Is your hate going with you when you die? I mean, and if it does, then you ain't going to the right place.
That could be your soul. I mean, you know, they say 23 grams and all that. Yeah. But I really feel like these are vessels. Like, they're just cars that our souls drive. And when we die, have you been around enough dead people? They're not alive anymore. Even if they look like they're asleep, you can tell they're not there anymore.
Yep, exactly.
You know, they're gone. They're gone. Their soul has left. And that's where does it go? Yeah. What happens? And that's the thing.
That's the scary part.
I'm not too worried about what happens to my body when I die, because I really feel like this, first of all, intelligent design is hilarious, because this shit in the wrist, like, it's all too compacted. That's why we get carpal tunnel now. You know, just things like that. It drives me insane.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's one of those weird aspects. Like, for me, you know, I don't know where I stand with religion. I never have. I mean, I have tried. It is not that I haven't tried. My parents took me to church. I chose to go to church on my own. I joined church youth groups. I feel like, and I have visited several.
I've done both. You know?
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not sure where I go now. These bodies are just my vessel, and this is how it is, and that's how I believe it. But I also have this really weird, stupid concept in my head that, like, if things get taken from me after I die, that if I stick around as a ghost, I won't have them with me. So I have, like, that really weird, like, fight with myself, where I know that I don't need, like, my eyes and my liver and stuff that when I die.
Right.
But if they take it from me, then, like, I won't have them if I don't end up anywhere. You know, like, how do I stick in that weird...
But you don't take your vessel with you when you die. Your vessel still stays in the ground. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like and then maggots and worms. But I understand what you mean. Like, if you die as a complete person, then you're probably complete when you die and you turn into a ghost. But then after that, what they do to your dead body, you know, like you die as how you are. Like, so if you're mangled in the neck because you got in a car accident, afterlife, you're just slinging it. You know?
I'm like,
you know what I'm saying?
I watch too much weird shit. I get it. I got my own like weird problems, but that's why I'm like, I don't want to be cremated because I have a really big thing that you got to keep the bones.
I used to be that way
I'm really
too.
bad about keeping my bones. Like,
bones are interesting because they say, when your bones turn to dust, I think that's something you return to the earth in some way. I really like the idea. I think we had a small conversation about this. I follow a funeral director's blog, and I was talking about the different ways that you can go. It's a gross blog, full disclosure. Some of the shit that he posts, I'm just like, oh my god, dude.
Too much information.
But I find death very fascinating, and like the Victorian methods, like they used to have a bell so that, because they had a real issue with burying people who were alive. And so what they had was, they had a bell system that went down through a grate, and so if you woke up, it would be tied to your finger, and if the bell rang, then they would dig you back up. You know?
See, and that's just absolutely like oh man, that's definitely one of my top top 10 fears is the man to get buried alive.
Well, they would open these coffins and just see scratch marks. That's why they had to start doing it, because that was during like the vampire craze, and so they would.
Thinks I should really go at he's really surprised I don't want the Viking funeral, which I mean I do kind of like the idea.
I kind of like the idea of the coins on the eyes for the ferryman, because I'm a little worried that like, what if I get to the side and he's like, you got my pennies?
Yeah. Like, so as I,
did anybody get some extra?
Yeah, he's like, you should totally go like the Viking way. I'm like, but again, Andy, I can't right now in my state. So I went from, like in my head at a very young age. So I've been planning my death for a lot of years. It's been strange. I'm one of those kids who like 13 years old was like already thinking about like what her coffin was going to look like.
But like not your wedding.
Yeah, no, not at all. Never thought about getting married. Thought about how I was going to die. Never thought about getting married or having kids.
Me either, and I marry people.
You're right.
Like, and then, I don't know.
But I went from, realizing that I didn't want to get, I remember, I think it was like 6th grade, I did some weird thing about, embalmment versus cremation as some weird project in school, right? So then I was like, Drew, it's so fucking gross. And I was like, nope, not doing that shit. So then I was all about being cremated. So I was going to get like cremated. I was going to get put into a vase. That vase was going to get planted into the earth. Then we were going to plant a nice little weeping willow tree on that vase so its roots would eventually crack. And then I would eventually go free. And then, I don't know, about 3 years ago, that's when I said, I don't want any of that shit. I don't know what happened. And I said I no longer wanted any of it and that I wanted to do the all natural. Oh, I watched 6 Feet Under.
Did you? I remember I told you.
Yeah,
I was like,
I watched that a few years ago.
Yeah, do you remember how
I remember exactly how he
got they stole his body from the thing, and they were like, we're going to bury him
this way that he wanted to be like a Quaker burial. And the Quaker burial
right, that's what it was a Quaker. Yeah, like,
Quaker burial, like your handful of friends, it's all very quiet. Maybe one person talks, that's it. Wrap your body into a canvas, bury you into the ground. And that's it. You go into a safe space. That's my safe space. My safe space is where they're not going to put a mall right on top of me like 5 years. I want like at least give me like 20 or 30 years in the ground before you like dig me up to put like a mall or a house on top of me. But like, my friend owns some land, so I'm all like being creepy. I'm like, no, seriously though, like if I die, like I got this spot right near this creek, and like this is where I'm going. Like a little tree overlooking. like. I'm like, I don't want, it's not going to cost anybody anything. Like, I'm going to die, and I'm going to have to be buried in, like, less than 3 days. So, like, I don't want nope, I'm dead. Like, if it looks like I got murdered, that's how, but I don't want anything. Like, look, it is what it is. I don't care, I'm dead. Bury me up, wrap me up, go to Hobby Lobby, cut off some big-ass fucking piece of canvas, it's biodegradable, throw me into the ground, let it all happen naturally. My eyes, all of it,
Good.
I
don't really know what I want yet. I'm still struggling with it, which, I really do need to have a will. A will. And
we have kids, we gotta have wills for the kids,
Yeah, I know. And my massive fortune.
Yeah.
I really need to make sure that people get that. Which, I was talking about I do genealogy, and I actually, next time we do a podcast, I'll bring some of my funnier finds.
That sounds great.
And we'll talk about old time wills and whatnot, because I tell you what, like this one guy, which was my boyfriend, his great-great-great-great-grandfather or something, was a very bitter man. But in his will, he was like, Since my son Henry never took my advice, he gets nothing. For my son William, as long as he is allowed to lay with my wife, as long as he makes sure that she has a sow every year. I mean, this shit is fucking entertaining. I'm not even joking. I mean, I only want to devote like 10 minutes to this week's genealogical find, but holy fuck.
I like that idea.
mean, that shit is so... just the death certificates that I have to look up sometimes, like, died of the drink. You know, like, one automobile accident. Like, can I get a news article on this? Like...
Nope, that is how it was, but that's how I want mine to read. Like, man, dead, there's no, like... I don't need anything else. Take what you need. Like, I'm an organ donor because I don't think any of my organs are going to be worth a shit anyways. I really feel like once I die, they're going to be like, dude, this girl, she's got problems.
My dad had some serious issues before he passed on, and they still were able to use his cataracts for a little girl who couldn't see. She can see now. And they took some of his skin cells from his back legs or something. I don't remember, just because he had an open casket or whatever. They did something, but it was for a burn victim, to help grow skin. So, yeah, there's a couple people out there that benefited from his organs. A friend of mine actually lost her 9-year-old son to a drunk driver. He was trying to... This is the middle of the day. This is like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, but during the winter, so I think it was dark. Anyway, she had a 9-year-old son that crossed the street and got hit by a drunk driver and dragged down the street.
Oh, my goodness.
And he ended up, because he was a pillar of the community over in Fostoria, ended up only doing 4 months in prison. And there were liquor bottles just rolling around underneath the seat. And she has to live in that tiny little town, and that family is not apologetic. They taunt her all the time. They tell her that she was a bad mother. I mean, they're just an awful family that treats her. I mean, it's enraging. But anyways, she donated all of his organs and is friends now with a lady named Mindy who got his heart.
Oh.
And every year, I think it's his heart, and I don't know if she's listening or not. I might have got it wrong. Maybe it was his liver, but I think it was his heart. And but every year on her transplant date, she always thanks, my friend and her son for their sacrifice. And I know that there was a little, I think you're friends with Kate too. I don't know if you are, but she's been doing, a friend of mine named Kate, she's been doing a lot of awareness for a young man named Christopher here in Findlay who needs a new liver. And he got the call. And her post was saying, we're really, really excited. He's going to get a liver, we're just waiting to make sure it's a match or whatever. But, keep in mind that there's a family out there mourning tonight. And that's the thing about organ donating is it is a bittersweet as one life is getting a new opportunity while another family is mourning the loss. You know what I mean? And it's very, very emotional and very weird for those families to meet because, there's a little bit of that's not fair, or I don't know, but it's I'm an organ donor too, to sum it up.
Yeah.
I don't care what you take. I feel like this is just my vessel. The only thing that matters is my soul, which I'm assuming is going to go up back to the stardust.
Yep. And call it
reform.
A good day. We're gonna hang out with Neil all day, and then we're actually gonna read the book Stardust, but he's gonna read it to us. It's gonna be a great time. It's I think it's one of those really interesting. That was a really loud car.
Yeah. Thanks, Dick Face.
Dick Wood, change your muffler.
Let's get a sign for the yard that says podcasting. Shh.
That we should. That'd be so great.
I mean, if we got slow for children signs, damn it.
We should have like a podcasting. Shut the fuck up for a minute.
Jerks.
Oh God. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Listen, I'm taking a break. Mine's about to go off.
Oh, I wish I could go off. My brain feels a little
I know. I did when it's just you, it's like,
I got this whole responsibility now.
I don't know what to talk about.
So we're talking about, and we're trying to be a lot more lighthearted, and we've been talking about death. I think that's the problem with Miles and Crawford.
What kind of a ghost do you want to be?
Ooh, what kind of ghost do I want to be? So, I already had this planned out. As ridiculous as that sounds, I'm really all about being a really fun ghost. I'm going to try not to terrorize people, but really get people on the understanding that there is an afterlife. At least I'm hoping that's what kind of ghost I can be as an afterlife ghost. And, I hope that I get to be a really cool afterlife ghost and I get to haunt people in really fun and cool ways. So I want to be a really fun ghost I think it would be a great time. I just want to hang out with people and mostly like little kids, not to scare them, but just to prove to them that their parents are wrong. And
What if when we die, we're imaginary friends like Drop Dead Fred?
Dude,
Wouldn't that be the fucking best?
It'd be so great. And I would really like to most of all is that, like, if those kids had, like, really douchebaggy parents, just to really fuck with them as much as I possibly could in my afterlife. I'm just about, like, having a good time. Like, I'm just going to show up in, like, a bedroom and wake up, like, what's that creepy girl doing? Like, I'm just listening to your vinyl records, man.
I wonder if you even have, like, a concept of time after you die, though. Like, you could haunt people for 1,000 years and it feels like a day.
That'd be so great.
Wouldn't it be?
I just want to hang. I just want to see what happens to the world.
Me
Like,
too. I
watch a lot of Futurama, and I really want to see how right they got it.
Right.
Like, I just really want to be like Fried. I want to wake up and be like,
The Simpsons, you know?
Yeah. They're so right. So, I think episode 3 has been a really good episode.
I thought it was much more lightweight and maybe lots more jokes and fun.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed it because we just kind of meandered through it.
Yeah, we did. And we just kind of, this is what happens.
This one will be a fun edit, though.
Yeah,
because we stop and pause, stop and pause, stop and pause.
But enjoy.
So I think that kind of wraps us up for this episode.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited that... Did we ever come up with a title for this?
No.
Randomness at its most random, everybody.
I mean, you can't talk about podcasting, ranting, and mayhem if you don't rant and mayhem somewhere between.
I believe there was ranting, mayhem,
podcasting.
Yeah, so I think we covered our 3 bases.
Yeah.
We didn't phone it in. We got it right.
Yeah, we did a good job.
So thanks for tuning in again. We appreciate all of you that listen to us every week. And
like and share our Facebook.
Yeah, and definitely give us any feedback or anything you want us to talk about. We're more than happy.
Tell us that we suck.
Yeah.
Because they're our friends usually, so we would trust your opinion.
I really appreciated the compliments that we did get from people who listened to it. Like, a couple of people said it was better than I expected. Which,
thank you,
right? Like,
I don't think that we still have any idea what we're doing.
Right, and I actually really appreciated that that honesty, like, well, it was actually better than I expected. So maybe this next episode we'll get over the 14 view mark.
Yeah.
Listening. So, woo! All right, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Have a great evening.